look myself in the mirror and accept that if you weren't a racist, you condone what a racist did. So that's, to me, the same thing. It's the same thing. So
I agree with you completely.
Sounds to really make you rub and scrub. Swang badang badang bong biddly biddly bong. Bong biddly 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 bong. I said, pass the dutchie on the left hand side. Pass the dutchie on the left hand side. It a go bun.
Anthony, welcome to the show.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the invite.
I appreciate it.
You got a big show. You got a big following. So God bless you.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Both of you, welcome to the show. I greatly appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, and good morning.
The floor is yours.
Whatever it is, it'll keep till the morning. Haven't we both got better things to do? Midnight blue.
I'm on your side, I still care. I may have died, but I've gone nowhere. Just think of me, I'll be there. Just think of me, I'll be there. There you go. Bit rusty.
Oh. You know what? I gotta tell you, usually I make my guests get a little emotional if I find something that touches them. You got me this time. So viewers, you're always telling me you got this one emotional. That got me emotional. I had to wipe my eyes.
No.
Since you told me you've seen some of the shows already, welcome, Johnny, of course. You know the running joke on my show is, because you're 6 hours ahead of me,
Oh, yeah.
I need the lottery numbers.
What do
But
you mean? These ones?
there you go. I love it.
I'm
There
one
you
step
go.
ahead of you, man.
Hey, folks, it's the man with the pinky ring and the New York thing. Forget about it. Bad Brad Berkwitt, and you're watching another Bad Brad Berkwitt show on the Ringside Report web TV channel. Now, hit that button whenever corner it's in and subscribe. Leave your comments below. I always personally respond to all comments that you leave on my videos. As well, follow me on Twitter at BadBradRSR. Again, that's at BadBradRSR. Well, today, folks, I got a very special guest that we go back several years now. She's multi-talented. She's an actress. She's a singer. And she's a humanitarian. And she's a very funny lady. Forget about it. My guest today is the one and only Lainie Kazan. Forget about it. All right. Well, first of all, what a pleasure to see you today. And welcome to the show, Lainie. You look great.
Thank you.
How are you feeling?
I feel great.
That's good. That's good. What's the weather like on your side of the world?
It's 85 degrees. It's gorgeous. The sun is shining. We had terrible weather all last week, but this week is beautiful.
Okay, good deal. And we got the sun here. I'm in Northwest Indiana.
What are you doing there?
Don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody.
Why are you there?
Because my better half got a job working at the refinery. She's in the oil refinery business. So she got a job working for BP, British Petroleum. So I came out here with her.
So you're living there?
I'm living there, but yeah, we're trying to live somewhere else because this place, I'm not going to get into politics and all that, but this place, I'm sure you can imagine.
Yeah, I can.
Well, let's start out like this. I always like to ask my guests when they come on, how are you dealing with COVID? How are things in your area with COVID and stuff like that?
Well, I had COVID.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was in the hospital.
Wow.
I was very sick, but I'm fine now. That's me. I have, luckily, not too many people that I know have had COVID, but my entire family had it.
Oh, no.
So it was really bad. Yeah. My daughter brought it home from her office. So,
Okay.
and that's how it happened.
Well, folks,
Yeah.
there you go. It's For the people that want to be anti-vaxxers or say it's a hoax, it's not a hoax.
I know,
It's
I
real.
know.
Okay. There's a lot of ground to cover. What I like to do is start out at the beginning. We've talked before, so I know some of your history that's actually factual from our conversations over the years. But I want to share it with my viewers now since we're doing it on Zoom. So I know from you telling me growing up in Brooklyn, you told me about your mom back in the day. You said she kind of was like, I got little notes here, kind of like Gypsy Rose Lee, how you described her.
Not Gypsy, with Mama Rose.
I'm sorry, Mama Rose. I'm sorry, not Gypsy.
Yeah.
Like Mama Rose, I get it right. And you talked about her and growing up in Brooklyn at that time. Share that with the viewers. What was it like during that time frame?
Growing up in Brooklyn, it was
Mhm.
beautiful. It was an innocent place. I lived on a dead end street. The railroad ran every 3 minutes, the BMT, and I grew up listening for that train to take me to the world. I just, it was like the future, that train. And I grew up in a loving home, a very, very loving home, with two parents who were very much in love, and a sister who is 5.5 years younger than me. And she's my kid sister. She always will be. And she lives in New York now, and we're very close. We speak a lot on the phone, and she's a doll. She's a social worker. She's more like a psychologist, but she's a registered social worker. She works with the elderly, and she works with young people as well.
Okay. And the one thing you never lost all these years, I have a little bit of it left, but you are a New Yorker, because that accent's not going anywhere. You may live on the West Coast, but it's not, that New York accent is going nowhere.
You hear it, yeah.
I love it. I love it. You're making me feel like I'm back at home. I lived in Westchester County, which to someone in the city was upstate, but it really wasn't. It was only a short distance from the Bronx, but I love that accent. You're making me feel at home. Okay. I know that your first Broadway appearance, if I'm correct, was in The Happiest Girl in the World. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, talk about that experience.
Lee Goober, who ran the Westbury Music Fairs, where I worked one summer, and I worked a couple of summers, and he was producing this Broadway show, and he asked me if I'd like to be in it. I said I'd love it. It was Cyril Richard, who was the original Captain Hook in the Mary Martin Peter Pan.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew who he was, and it was Offenbach's music, and it was a delightful experience. I made friends in that show that I still keep in touch with, and I had a good time. It was a very limited run. Unfortunately, it wasn't a hit, but I played a small part, and I got a laugh. And I remember that laugh was like, it covered my whole body. Like when the audience left, I knew I was home, and I knew that I had to have laughter in my life. I mean, laughter on the stage.
Okay.
It was very important to me.
All right. We talked before about this, but I love your great storytelling. That's what I love about researching. You have some great memories. Let's talk a little Dean Martin.
Okay.
26 times, I think, is the number you were on Dean Martin?
I think.
Okay. One of my favorite clips you and I laughed about when we talked several years ago and did an interview is when Dean came out, and I may be saying it wrong, and correct me if I'm wrong, something about your gross isn't covering your net or something like that. Your net doesn't cover your gross or something to that effect.
It's one of those.
Yeah, one of those too.
Your gross doesn't cover, your net doesn't cover
your gross. There you go. That would make more sense. So talk about your experiences, and I know you're very fond of Dean Martin, and I one of my favorites of all time. Just talk about him.
He was warm. He was funny. He was so funny. He was much funnier than Jerry Lewis. And Jerry Lewis, it was a performance. But Dean, it came from his heart. And he was very clever and very witty. And we became very good friends. And I just did a documentary. I mean, I'm not the only person on the documentary. There are many artists on the documentary. Scorsese and what's his name? The actor.
De Niro?
No, the younger.
Oh, DiCaprio, probably.
DiCaprio.
Yeah, Leonardo, yeah.
Yeah, they're doing a documentary on Dean Martin. So
Oh, wow.
I spoke on it. And
Okay.
that was very, very interesting. I don't want to repeat my stories because I feel as though they were special for
Not a
the
problem.
documentary. But I loved him. And he cared about me too. He took care of me. And as I said on the show, he gave me a car, an MG, a little MG, at the end of the performances. When I left the show, he bequeathed me this little car that was on the show. He said, "You want it?" I said, "I'd love to have it." But it was 5 years and I didn't know how to drive it. So I left it outside my house and I put plants in it.
Oh. No, that's a great story. I love that one. Okay. All right. Well, along the lines of Dean, you also were in a movie with my favorite singer of all time, Francis Albert Sinatra, The Lady in Cement, 1968. How did that part come about? And talk about Frank, if you would.
Well, I was in Miami Beach and I was singing at the Eden Rock. The Eden Rock. I was opening for Don Rickles, and Frank Sinatra was next door at the Fontainebleau. And I got a message that Frank would like to see me for a part in his movie, which was Lady in Cement.
Mm-hmm.
It was part of the Tony Rome series.
Mm-hmm.
So the next day, my manager called him and he asked if I could come up to his suite. And we did. I went with Sal Bonifetti, who was my manager at the time. And we went up to his suite and he met me and he gave me the part. And, the next week I was working in Miami in this, as a go-go dancer. And I had some lines, and it was my first real, professional movie. I did a movie before that just to see where a camera was and what I was supposed to do. And it was called, what is it called? Dayton's Devils.
Okay.
And that was my first foray. And then I think the camera liked me and I loved doing it. So my movie career was off to a great start. But Frank Sinatra was so wonderful to me, and we went out a couple of times. I saw him in Palm Springs, and I saw him up in his, he had a place in, it was up in,
Was it not Beverly Hills? Because I know.
No. This was a hotel that he
Okay.
had
Okay.
up in Nevada.
Oh, Cal Neva.
Cal Neva.
Cal Neva. Right.
Cal Neva Lodge, and we went up there. I remember he sent a jet for me,
Oh, wow.
and it went up like this, straight up. And I had a wonderful time with him.
Okay. Now, I don't know if you're willing to talk about this one. We've talked about it before, but in October of 1970, people still talk about this because I was looking up comments and stuff. They still talk about the Playboy shoot that you did. And I've heard you say some very funny comments about it, about, if I'm correct, something about they were putting it in your ear that you would be, and correct me if I'm wrong, the Jewish Sophia Loren. Was that right?
Yeah. And I would take the Jewish woman out of the kitchen. There would be no more matzo balls, no more kreplach. It would just be Lainie Kazan on a horse riding in the desert. with no clothes on.
With no clothes on. Yeah, of course. So let me ask you this. All these years later, like I said, I still see people that still talk about it. There's still stuff on the
Really?
internet about it. Oh, yeah. Looking back on it, I know you also had a funny line, and correct me if I'm wrong. I think you said something, oh, yeah, and I wish I would have got paid or something like that. Is that something that you said or to that effect?
Well, I went and did a television show in the late 80s or the early 90s sometime. And everyone was on the show was a centerfold.
Mm.
And I had an 8-page layout.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know what I was doing there, but they were all talking about what they had received, thousands of dollars, diamonds, a car. And I said I did it for art. I thought that, the body was beautiful at the time. And I really did do it for art. Because the director kept telling me it was going to be like a Rubens painting. And I said, okay, that sounded good to me. And I never got 1 cent for that layout. Not 1 cent.
Wow. Okay. 1982. One of my favorite, I have many favorite performances of yours, but one of my favorite is my favorite year. You were magnificent in that movie. Loved it. What was that experience like? And was it true that the Peter O'Toole character was based on Earl Flynn?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
And apparently that's a true story because the Mel Brooks was the little boy who was the writer.
Okay. Mark Lynn Baker? Was that Mark Lynn Baker?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mark Lynn Baker played the part.
Okay.
And Mel told us the story. I mean, this was a true story about how he met this woman and her husband, who was a bantamweight fighter, and told me the story of how she met. That was his mom, supposedly.
Okay. And what was that shoot like for you? The experience for you?
Oh my God! It was. I had just come off the Francis Coppola film, which was painfully beautiful, painfully wonderful. But we were on it for a year, maybe more. And, always, it was like on the waterfront. On Fridays, we wait to get paid, and are we going to get paid today? And this was like the most joyous set. Richard Benjamin was a wonderful director, and he chose people that were just so compatible. And there was no hostility, there was no friction. It was just a grand ball of laughs. And we laughed and enjoyed each other. And oh my God, I had such a good time. And Peter O'Toole was an angel to work with. Did I tell you how I met him?
No,
Mel Brooks, on the first day that we went to work, he said to me, would you like to meet Peter O'Toole? So I said, I'd love to meet Peter O'Toole. So we knock on his trailer and a voice says, come in. And he's got his head in the sink. He's wearing his little underwear, his little briefs, and his little skinny legs. And he took the towel and he picked it up and he wrapped it around his head and he pulled his head back. And he said, my dear, Miss Kazan, how absolutely marvelous to meet you. It was as if he was wearing a tuxedo. And there he stood in his briefs with a towel on his head. And oh my God, it just started me off. I thought, this man is brilliant. He's great. And it was a wonderful experience. I loved him.
Okay. You had mentioned Coppola. I know the movie because I've heard you do interviews and you talked about it, but I forget the name of the movie. What was the Coppola
One
movie?
from the Heart.
One from the Heart. Okay.
Yeah, Terry Garr and Frederick Forrest.
Forrest, yep, I remember him.
Yeah, and he passed away. He was a wonderful actor. He was Spanish, Puerto Rican. Oh, I can't remember.
Wasn't Raul Julia, was it?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, great actor. Yeah, he died young.
Great.
Okay. Cult classic, 1985. I watched this clip a day ago when I was doing some updated stuff on it. I was laughing so hard. Lust in the Dust. And when you sing is South of My Border,
North of
hilarious. And Divine is sitting at the bar. Talk about, this movie went on to be a cult classic. People are still talking about this movie. Talk about that shoot and your performance.
Well, I got a script, but first of all, Tab Hunter called my house. And, you know, I'm of that period. So, I mean, Tab Hunter, my daughter said, Tab Hunter is on the phone. What a weird name that is. That's okay. I got on the phone. He said, look, would you meet? I said, Butterfield's. It was a restaurant that was an outdoor restaurant. He said, and I want to give you a script. And I think that you're the only person in the world who could do this part. So I met them. And of course, I said, I'm going to take the script home. So I'm in the bathtub reading the script, and I'm laughing to the point of hilarity. I'm hysterical. And I said, oh, I have to do this. So I talked to my agent. My agent said, you can't do this. This is not, you're going to ruin your career. I said, no, this is a hysterical script. So I took it, and they made the best deal they could, and it was not a lot of money, but I met some people on that set that were just friends for life, and I bought land in Santa Fe at the time, and I had the best time. We spent 3 months in Santa Fe, and had a blast. I fell in love with that little town. Now it's a big town. But it was a little town in the 80s. And I loved it. I loved the indigenous people. I loved the architecture. I loved everything about it. It was wonderful.
Okay.
And I had such fun.
You're hilarious. I mean, absolutely. Absolutely. The face, the looks on the guys. And I can imagine when you were shooting the scene, when you were singing it, I mean, I was dying laughing. I had seen it years ago, but when you watch it again, and you're a little bit older now, because I was a teenager then, but watching now, it's hysterical. I see why you did it.
Yeah.
I see why you did it. Okay.
Margarita Ventura.
There you go. I saw a trailer. Now, I didn't see the whole movie, but I did see a trailer on this one. It was funny. 2009, you did a movie called Oy Vey, My Son is Gay.
Was it that long ago?
2009, yeah, that's what IMDb says.
Wow.
The trailer looks hysterical.
It was funny. It was a little dated.
Okay.
And that was the problem, I think. And the title, it just wrong. You know, it wasn't politically correct.
Right.
And I feel that's why it didn't go over. We had a great time making it. It was fun. The director was good. He loved the script, and we did the best we could, you know, with it. But it never came out. Okay. It was never released.
Never released. Okay. 2002, which I can't believe it's been this long already. You were in the first My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and then a sequel in 2016.
And we're doing another one.
Are you really? Fantastic. Another one of my favorite performances of yours. I love those movies. Can watch them over and over and over again. You're just on point.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Talk about those two, the first one and then a sequel.
The first one was a joy. We got a call to come to Tom Hanks's office, and would we read a script with a Greek girl who had written a very funny script and see how it goes. So I went up to the office, of course, and met everybody, and we read the script. And when I left, I thanked Tom, and he said, oh, thank you, and da-da-da. I said, well, if you ever do it, please call me. And I didn't hear from them for a year. And then I got a call saying, we're making this little movie. There's not much money in it. And we're making it, and we're going to go to Canada, and would you like to do it? I said, yeah, I would. So we went up there, we made the little movie, we became a family. We just really just gelled. And when it came out, which was a year later than that,
Okay.
Nia called me and she said, listen, you call all the synagogues and I'm going to call all the Greek Orthodox churches.
Okay.
Because we have to have a good first weekend. And if we have a good first weekend, we could stay open for a while. And of course, we were open for a year and a half.
I know it was a massive
It was
blockbuster.
unbelievable, unbelievable success. And then the second movie, well, then we did the series, which was an abysmal failure, was horrible, because it had a director who was a wonderful director, don't get me wrong, but he didn't understand ethnic humor.
Mm-hmm.
And it really failed in that regard. And the second movie was the same. The second movie, she hired a director that just didn't understand the ethnic situation and didn't have jokes and it wasn't funny. And
But you still were good in it, though. I still thought you were good in it. The first one was better. I'm not going to say it wasn't, but I don't think I still loved your performance. I mean, I love that character. The character that you played. So you obviously did the best of what you had.
Yeah. I'm hoping that it's going to be good. It's the third one.
Okay. So before we segue into the singing part of your career, which is just amazing, if you had to pick either your favorite or your most challenging role that you've done in your film career to date, what would you pick?
My film career?
Yes, to date.
One from the heart, because I was around really great actors. I was very nervous. It was one of my first real jobs with a real director. And I was very nervous, and I was constantly, trying to figure out what I was doing. And it was a difficult shoot for me.
Okay.
I enjoyed myself in the long run. I mean, when it was over, I had a great time. But, we were losing the studio. It was selling it, Francis was selling it to a Canadian guy. And on Fridays, we would have these cast parties that were outrageous. And the guy would always say to me, hey, Lainie, sing The Impossible Dream. So it was hard because we were losing our lives. Francis had such a dream. It was such a beautiful dream to have a company that was going to be doing lots of films and a studio, and he lost it all. And it was sad. It was a very sad time.
Was the name of his studio? Was it Zoe something?
Zoe.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, all right. Let's segue into the singing part, which is one of my favorite parts of your career. Is multi-talented. I've heard you perform so many standards, and you may or may not remember the first time that we talked, but my personal favorite that you recorded was the Leslie Bricusse standard, When I Look in Your Eyes.
Oh, I got the chills. That's one of my favorite. That's my favorite, too. I sang that to my husband. Oh, boy. I'm very, very passionate about my singing. I love to sing. I like to act. I have fun acting, but singing is my life. That's who I am. And that's what I'm about. I mean, I'm a passionate woman. I ache. And it's a great place to express myself. It's like a primal scream. It comes from some unearthed place inside my body. And it's an amazing feeling to release that and have words that also are being released. So it's the sound plus the words. And the sound is so rewarding and fulfilling that I can't think of anything that I'd rather do.
Insane. And I gotta say, pre-COVID, because I'm on like a mailing list for your stuff, I want to say it's the Catalina Club. Is that one that you play at a lot?
Yeah, I play a lot. Yeah.
Right, you play, and you know, before we got hit with COVID, you were performing. You were still doing your thing.
Right. I was at the Vibrato
Okay.
like the week before.
Hmm.
And at Feinstein's, I was supposed to be there on May 5th, but I didn't, I'm not doing it until next year.
Right.
If I live that long.
You're gonna live a long time. You don't say that. You're gonna be with us. You give too much back to humanity. That song, as you said, gives you chills. Do you have a? This is a hard question, but is there a favorite performance or venue that you've done? Because I know you played all over. I think all over the world, I would say, and sang. But do you have a one or two favorite venues that you the acoustics and just everything is just great there?
The Vibrato was really great.
Okay.
The Vibrato, you know, it's Herbie Alpert's club.
Okay.
So the sound is impeccable. The lights are magnificent. And, you know, years ago when I opened my own clubs, I tried to, you know, make everything perfect for the singer because I hired some of the great jazz singers of all time. And so I put lights in and I brought my own sound into the club. And it's very important, you know. And when I was growing up and I was performing at the Plaza Hotel, I remember the sound being excellent there and the lighting. And, you know, there were a few clubs that were wonderful. Mr. Kelly's was great.
I've heard of that, yeah. Okay, and you played psychic on me because the next question I was going to ask you was to tell the story because there's more to that story, and it's Hugh Hefner got with you, correct, about running clubs for him? Tell that story. It's a great story.
Well, I was singing in Milwaukee, and I called the Playboy Resort Hotel in Wisconsin, in Lake Geneva. And I said, could I come up for the weekend? And I had been working like the toilets of America at this time of my life. I had been fired from a Broadway show, and I was persona non grata, you know, for a while there, and didn't like where I was working. And I thought, oh, I'd love to go back to the Playboy Resort, but I'd like to just stay there. So I called the manager, and he was the manager that I had known before, and he said, of course, come up. So I went up there, and I had dinner with he and the entertainment director, and I went into the club, which was gorgeous, and I said, what is this group? There was a group there called the Shaggy Gorillas minus one buffalo fish. I said, what the hell is that? It was a terrible rock group. I said, you know, you should put jazz back in here. And I told him what I thought, you know, and he said to me, you know, you should go down to Chicago to the office and meet with Mr. Hefner and Hugh Victor Lowndes. Okay. He ran all the entertainment venues. I said, really, I'd love to do that. He said, you give him your ideas. I didn't have a lot of ideas. All I said was, I thought that it would be a wonderful thing if they put jazz back in the rooms. So they hired me 1960, was it 66? Was it the centennial? Okay. Yeah, the centennial. It was called a Freedom Van. So I went down in this little van, and I went down to meet with Mr. Hefner, and I said, you know, I have this idea. And he said, I hear you have some ideas. And I said, you know, I don't know what you want to do with it, but this is my thought. And he said, you know, we have a little club in Los Angeles. It's got a wrong crowd. It's just not, it's not what as healthy as we'd like. There's drug runners and all kinds of strange underworld people hanging out there. Maybe you could turn it around for us. And I said, I'd love to. I just said it I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know what I was going to do.
Okay.
He rented me a flat in a hotel in Westwood, and I started, and I answered the phone in my bedroom, and that's why it got to be Lainie's room. Hello, Lainie's room. How many, please? And I opened this club in a couple of months, and 2 years later, I opened a club in New York, and I booked, Sarah Vaughan and Mel Torme and Joe, what was his name? Joe, that great singer. I can't remember his name. Well, whatever his name is, he's great. Joe.
Okay.
And all those Morgana King and
Not Joe, not the black guy, Joe,
Yeah.
the jazz guy with the gray hair. He sang with Count Basie.
yeah,
Joe Williams?
thank
There you go. There you go.
And Joe Williams, he sang there a lot, and I booked all these people, and it was great. It was great. I sang there, months at a time, and the house band was my band. So it was great, and I'd just go in there and sing. And on Monday nights, I'd have the Actors Studio do plays. I just was very creative. It was a great time for me.
Okay. Yeah, I
I
love
did
this.
all the advertising and all the publicity. I was on the airlines. I had ads on the airlines and did a lot.
Yeah, I've heard pieces of that story. I wanted you to tell it for my viewers. It's such a great story. And some people know who Hugh Hefner is, some people don't. But they don't realize, they always think Playboy, which I know was Playboy, but he had these jazz clubs, and as well, this, he had comedians there too.
I know.
A lot of famous acts went through there.
Especially the clubs in Chicago.
Okay, before we segue into the second part of the interview, which is just fun, random questions, there's no right or wrong answers. I know that you're involved in some different charitable organizations and stuff like that. I know that last time before we had a reschedule, I don't know if you did it, but you were involved with something with like service dogs or something like that.
I'm still doing that.
Yeah, tell the viewers about that.
Well, it's the veterans,
Okay,
and it's veterans who have been injured in the wars,
okay,
and we give them dogs that cost $30,000 to train.
wow.
Yeah, but the dogs are amazing. They're amazing. And we give them to the vets, and they save these veterans' lives. They do everything for them, these dogs. It's not just like a seeing eye dog. It's like the dogs do fetch and get and do, and they're like people. And they're so well trained and so beautiful and so kind. And I'm working for them. I really want to raise money for the dogs to be put together, replaced with a veteran, and it's called the Warrior Veterans.
The Warrior, okay. And I'm retired military. I did 20 years and 28 days in the Navy. So when I saw that, I was very touched by that you were involved in. So I wanted you to get that out for the viewers, or for anybody that might be interested in donating or whatever else they can do, whether their time or the money. Absolutely. I have to ask, are you involved in any Jewish organizations?
I am. I've raised money for Israel a lot. And I've worked a lot for the AIDS foundations.
Okay.
Not as much lately, but when it first came out, I was very, very involved.
Okay. And if I remember,
I'm an adjunct professor at UCLA.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Talk about that.
Oh, I teach acting for the singer, and I love it. I have students that are very talented. Some of them now are on Broadway. They do it the national companies, and they're just very, very talented. And I've been teaching there 8 years, and try and make it to 10 years.
Are you doing distant learning now with them?
I did Zoom. Yeah, I did a lot of Zoom. I didn't do it in the last 6 months because I was not well.
Right.
But I have Zoomed, and I also have taught at NYU.
Okay.
So it's UCLA and done a lot of classes at NYU.
Okay. And if I remember correctly, your daughter's name is Jennifer, right?
Yes.
How is she doing?
She's great.
Okay.
She has 2 little children and a 21-year-old. She has
Okay.
a 21-year-old who's a fabulous singer herself. My daughter sings, has sung with
I
me.
remember that. Yeah.
And my granddaughter is a songwriter, singer.
Okay.
Her name is Bella Blue,
Okay.
Isabella Blue, and then she has two little girls, and she's a social worker. And she works with the drug addicted children.
Okay.
So she's
That's a
very,
mitzvah. She's doing a
yeah,
mitzvah. She's doing a
wonderful.
mitzvah.
Yeah, she's a wonderful girl.
Okay. Let's segue in. Like I said, random questions, no wrong answers. If you can't think of one, say, hey, Brad, come back to that, or I don't have an answer.
All right.
Okay. What is your favorite genre of movies that you like to watch?
Drama.
Okay.
I like drama. I mean, comedy is fun. You know, a good comedy is great, but drama is my thing.
Okay. Do you have a favorite movie or a go-to movie? I know that's kind of hard because people have several, I mean. But is there a go-to movie that you could watch over and over again and you're like, I love this?
No,
No? Okay.
no, because I'm too busy watching the technical aspects of a movie, you know, and the acting and the. But I do. I just, you know, old movies. I love old movies. I love, you know. Now let's come back to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Favorite musical band from any era?
Favorite musical band?
Yes. Could be any
Bob,
era.
Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan? Okay.
And I like him because he says so much. And not so much the music, but the words.
The words.
And I think it's a tight band too.
Okay.
And a jazz band, I love jazz bands.
Right. I thought you was going to say a jazz band. Okay, so jazz band too. Who do you love?
Yeah, Duke Ellington.
Yeah. Classic. Okay. Do you have a favorite or one memory of a concert that you went to, probably jazz, but over the years that you went and saw an artist perform and you were just blown away?
Bette Midler.
Really?
Yeah, she
Okay.
blew me away. She did but it wasn't a great musical concert. It was just everything.
Okay.
She was just brilliant.
Okay. Solo singer. Now, we said Dylan for a musical band, but male artist, a favorite male artist that you like?
Frank Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra. Okay. Well, since Frank is my favorite, this is a hard question, but do you have a favorite or a couple Sinatra tunes that you could put on anytime?
Yeah, all of them.
All of them. Okay. That's fair. I can accept that answer. Okay. Favorite female singer that you like to listen to from any era?
Billie Holiday.
Oh, yeah.
I love this new girl, Audra. Oh, what's her name? She played Billie Holiday in the movie.
Okay. I know you're talking about. I can't think of her name. Yeah.
Yeah, Audra. And
I know we share one that we both love because we talked about her before. And when I say her, you'll be like, oh, yeah, Brad, her too. Edith Piaf.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
The Little Sparrow.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so being a singer, I have to ask you this question. Whether it's from any time, it's a romantic evening, you're sitting at a table, and you have background music. Who are you putting on for romantic music? Because I know a lot of people put your jazz stuff on for romantic music, but who do you put on?
Frank Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra again.
Just really low.
Okay. Do you?
Or I do put on some rhythm and blues too.
Okay, like who?
Like what was his name? You know, the heavy set guy who
Barry White?
yeah, I love Barry White.
Deep voice. Love
Yeah.
Barry White too. Okay. Do you have a favorite noise or sound you like to hear?
A train
Okay.
whistle. A train whistle.
Which goes back to your childhood,
Your
right?
childhood, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now reverse that. Least favorite noise or sound.
A siren.
Okay.
Siren. I don't know. Gives me the chills.
Okay.
in a bad way.
Okay. Favorite food?
Pasta.
Okay. Being half
Or
Italian.
sushi. I
Okay.
like
Oh, sushi. Okay. But Italian, since I'm half, what's your favorite Italian dish?
a good sauce. I mean, you got to have a good sauce. Otherwise, I'll just have garlic and oil. But
Okay.
a mean sauce is the best. The best. I love,
Okay.
I love it all. I love it all.
Okay. How are you capping off the dinner with what is your favorite dessert?
Cannoli.
I love cannolis too, especially from New York. Okay. If you were to hit the lottery for the 200, 300, 400 million dollar lottery tomorrow, what would be the first thing you do?
Give it to my kids. My daughter and my grandchildren.
Okay.
I'm not all of it.
But that's fair. But that's the giving side of you, right? You're not supposed to give it all away. You're supposed to do something kind with it, which is what you just said. Okay, pre-COVID, what was your favorite vacation destination?
Fiji.
Okay, you're the first one to say that. Fiji's beautiful.
Really?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I went on my honeymoon there.
Okay,
To Tombarua,
okay, okay.
in a little cabin on the water.
Where you have like a little dock that goes out to it.
It was so beautiful.
Debbie wanted me to do that for her 50th, which was last year, and we had everything booked. We were going to, I think, St. Martin or St. George, one of those, and then COVID hit, and that was the end of that.
I know.
Couldn't go nowhere. But
I know.
okay, if you could meet one person from any time in history, any walk of life, who would you like to meet, and what would your first question be for them?
Oh boy, I have to think about that.
Give it a second. See what pops in your head.
I don't know.
Okay.
That's too deep.
Okay.
I mean, I'd have to really think about it.
Okay. Well,
off the top of my head, I'd like to meet Freud.
Okay.
I mean,
Well, there you go.
yeah, I'd like to ask him, a lot of questions.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's break it down a little bit more simplistic. Who is the most interesting person that you ever met, whether they were in the business or they were just
Henry
Kissinger? That was easy. Okay. And why?
I went out with him.
Okay.
He lived at the Waldorf Towers, and I lived there. And he invited me to dinner in his suite, and the security guards came and picked me up, and he showed me pictures of his family in Germany, and he just was the most interesting person I ever met in my life. He was
he Secretary of State then, or was this after?
No, I went to the state dinner with him afterwards.
Okay. Okay.
But I had dinner with him.
Okay.
At the Waldorf Towers, and he was first of all, it was brilliant, and it was such an exciting, stimulating, wonderful evening. I just had a great time.
Okay. With everything we discussed today, if you had to sum yourself up as a human being in a couple thoughts, what would you say?
Wow. If I had to sum myself up, I'm a tender, loving, passionate woman who loves life, who loves my children, my grandchildren, and who's so honored to be gifted. So I feel so blessed. I feel as though I have been granted the ability to communicate. And that is such a gift to me. I mean, in all ways I can communicate. in my daily dialogue, in my loving, my feelings, and with my talent. And I'm very blessed, very, very blessed.
Absolutely. And we're blessed that you have all these talents and you shared it, which I'll talk about in the closing thoughts with us. All the years you've done many, many interviews, TV shows, and other, is there one question that you were never asked by an interviewer and you thought about it and you said, I've never been asked this particular question? And if so, what's the question? What's the answer?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's too deep.
Okay. Okay. That's all right. That's
It's
all right.
too deep. I just feel as though I don't want to expose all that.
Okay.
It's too personal.
No, that's fine. That's
And
fine.
I wouldn't want to answer it.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Okay. Finally, last question. Do you have a saying you live your life by? And if so, what is that saying?
A saying. Oh, you
Yes,
mean
a
like,
saying. Yeah, but a saying, whether it's yours or whether it's just one that's out there that you live your life by.
walk the line.
I heard Johnny Cash, that song, I Walk the Line, Johnny
Walk
Cash.
the line, yeah. I think do unto others as you would have others do unto you.
Yeah, that's fine. That's it. That's the one. That's the one. My dad used to say the same one. Same one. Now, social media platforms. I know you have a website. Give the viewers the address for your website.
Yes, LainieKazan.com.
Okay. Any other social media platforms?
I don't really do social media.
Okay.
I don't like it.
Okay.
I mean, I know I should because it's in the communication department,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a communicator, and I have somebody who does some things for me,
Mm-hmm.
calls me every day to ask me, what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't like it,
I understand.
and I don't have time for it.
Right.
I don't understand how people have time for it. I don't.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm really not involved.
Okay. Well, I want to close out like this, and then I want to give you the microphone. I want to personally thank you for coming on today, but as well, I want to say to you, I'm very big on humanity because I think humanity today has taken such a hit, and people forget that just a little bit of kindness goes a long way. You said something about you were blessed, and you were blessed by God with the talents with singing and acting and other things that you do through your charitable works. I thank you for that because humanity needs people like you. You've left an indelible mark that, like I said, I love your performances. I love your singing. When I put the press release out that you were coming on, you're like, oh my God, I love her. I can't wait to see the show. So all of these years later, you're talking about 1982 was my favorite year. You're talking 40 years next year, or probably 40 years from when you shot it. You've left an indelible mark on humanity. I want to thank you for it. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you because you're a sweetheart. Like I said, I've talked to you more email over the years, but you're always kind. And one more thing I'm going to remind you, and you probably forgot this. When I started acting a couple of years ago, I did a little bit of acting. I reached out to some people in the business just for some either constructive criticism or some, hey, take this class or that class. You were the first one that hit me right back via email and said, Brad, do this, this, and this. As far as some classes, look into this. And I did. I got what acting teaches, some other things. And you were very kind and giving. And you're still the same person. The way you summed yourself up was perfect because I could tell you from personal experience, folks, that this is a very, besides for she's a beautiful lady and talented and all of that, she's very, very kind. And I admire you for that, Lainie. I really
And I
do.
thank you. And can I tell you, this is one of the best interviews I've ever had. And that's the truth. A wonderful, wonderful interviewer. And you're just very special.
I thank you. One thing I'll ask you to do, closing parting words for people, because you went through COVID. Any parting words you just like to say to the viewers about anything?
Just keep on trucking and, you know, keep on loving, be kind, and follow your heart.
Okay. Well, you know where I'm at. You got a project coming out. If you start getting back into doing the clubs and stuff,
Definitely.
you tell Scott to reach out to me. I'll run any press releases for your stuff, whatever you got. I adore you. Okay.
Thank you so much,
All right.
Brad.
All right. Mwah.
Mwah.
Take care.
Mwah.
Bye-bye. Hey, folks, did I tell you on Twitter that she was going to be a special guest? I adore Lainie Kazan. She is just a mitzvah, a blessing. And her singing and her acting is a humanitarian. I've gone back years with her, like I said. So that's another episode of the Bad Brad Berkwitt Show in the can. Forget about it. Make sure you hit that button and subscribe. Leave your comments below. Let's have a conversation. Don't forget about it. And remember, folks, every act of kindness is a little love we leave behind. Bad Brad out.